Hey everyone, it's Tim from Linessa Farms Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today. So why in the world do I feed grain? I get so many questions about this all the time from lots of different people sending me messages and wanting to know, why do you feed grain? I heard that you shouldn't feed grain. I heard that you should feed grain. We need to talk about this. Stay tuned, find out more. So here I am here inside of my creep feed on my lamb side of the farm. I got my goat side of the farm over on the other side. And you'll notice two things. One, I got free choice creep feed in here. I got nice free choice creep feed. It's got all the medications that I need. It's got all the protein. This is about an 18 to a 20% protein mix. And you'll notice that there's nobody in here. Now, I've got my creep gate over here. They can get in here anytime they want, but you notice that nobody's in here. Why in the world is that? Because I know a lot of you have been told, you know, if you do free choice creep, well, they're just going to sit in here and eat all day long. And the reality is now they don't. And they come in here when they're hungry and they eat on it. Right now, for about 50 lambs, we've got, they'll eat about anywhere from 7 to, well, they'll eat about a 5-gallon bucket a day is about what they're eating right now. And the reason that they don't sit in here and gorge themselves is because they know they can get it anytime they want. And so there's no reason for them to gorge. What you'll notice with your animals is when they'll start really gorging, when they'll come in here and overeat, is when they don't ever have it, and then all of a sudden you give it to them, and then they go absolutely nuts over. But when they know they can just stroll in here anytime they want and eat some, they'll come in, they'll eat, they'll get full, and they'll leave, and maybe they'll come back later, or maybe they won't. But that's the myth that I want you to understand. One of the myths that I want you to understand is our lambs and our goat kids are on free choice creep feed from the day that they are born until they are weaned. And they don't think much about it at all to let it sit here empty. Like I said, shoot, I'm the only one in here right now. Here in a minute, we'll go out there and look, and you'll see every baby is just laying out there with their moms, enjoying some of the nice warm weather. So, you know, we feed creep feed, and we get messages from people online all the time, and it seems like the bigger we get with YouTube and the more followers we get, the more trolls we get, and the more we get people saying, well, I watched so-and-so online and he or she said that I shouldn't feed grain at all. And that, you know, grain just does this and it does that. And, you know, I will not get myself into a position where I start going toe-to-toe with other people who are telling you what it is that you should do. I think you should watch as much information as you find valuable, and you should decide which information is the most valuable to you and which information works for you, and you should go with that. If the way I do things works for you, then great, and if the way somebody else does something, then that's great too. What I'm here to tell you today is that I do feed grain. I think it's right for my farm. I think it might be right for yours, depending on what type of a farm you've got, and I'm going to tell you why. So you can feed grain. I'm not saying that you should feed grain. I'm saying that you can feed grain, and in our case, we do because it's what's right for us. We raise animals for meat. I don't have people banging down my door. I'm not selling a lot of breeding stock for buku bucks. And so my main game here is for meat. I'm raising for myself, I'm raising for my family, and I'm raising for the market. And the reality is this: the hottest time of the year to sell lambs is in the springtime around Easter. Around Easter here in the United States, and Greek Easter, which is the week after Easter here in the United States. And if you miss that window, then buddy, I'm telling you what, you're going to see prices drop significantly. And for those of you that actually know what's going on and you sell on the sale barn and you're selling meat lambs, then you know that what I'm saying is the God's honest truth. If you miss an Easter window and you go after that, you get into midsummer to where you've got lambs in midsummer, good luck. You can get over $1.50 a pound less per pound live weight for these animals than you can in the springtime and Easter time. The hot times of the year. There are 3 hot times of the year in the United States for lambs and goat kids, and that is Easter, Ramadan, and Christmas. Now there are a few other Islamic holidays that are pretty hot as well, the Eids, but for all intents and purposes, if you're raising lamb and you're not hitting that Easter market, then you're letting the best money that's out there pass you by. Now I understand that some people might not need to do that, but that's an answer that I have to the question of, well, why in the world do people want to have their babies in the middle of the winter? Well, the reason that we want to have our babies in November and December is because I got to have those lambs up to sale weight by Easter, because if I don't, I'm losing some serious cash. And again, I've told you before, I'm not raising these darn things for pets, I'm raising these things for money. And money is what it's all about. So as far as my animals eating grain and doing well, my animals do fantastic on grain. And you've seen my videos, you've seen what I put out there, and here's the truth, folks. I understand that some of these lambs that people are having, that they're having them out on pasture, you know, that's all fine and dandy, and they're having their 6-pound lambs and they think they're doing really hot. I'm telling you what, I'm having 20-pound lambs when they come out of mom. When they hit the ground, we've got 20, 22-pound lambs coming out of mom this year. And my lambs are putting on 1 pound per day average. That's average, all right? I got better than that happening based off of what I'm feeding. So from birth to weaning, I expect my lambs to put on 1 pound per day average. So you can do the math on that one. That means if I wean at 6 weeks, that lamb is going to at least weigh 42 pounds, and we hit that mark every day of the week and twice on Sunday. The other thing that we hear a lot about is about overall health. We hear problems with our animals getting fat. We hear problems with having to trim hooves, all that malarkey, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. So this is our creep gate, and this is how we control the input and output that's going to get our free choice grain. So we've got free choice grain, we've got free choice water, and we've got free choice hay for these babies from day one. This is one of our homemade creep gates that I've made. This fits right into a 4-foot cattle panel, and it allows these babies to get in and out. One of these days when I get some time, I'll actually show you folks how I make this thing. This is made with rebar and sprinkler system tubing here, water line. And the point is I want them to be able to roll through here without actually pulling on their wool. And I've got this so it's adjustable, and so the babies can get in and out here and the moms can't. You have to have a horizontal bar with these creep gates. You can see that I've got this horizontal bar right here. Some of these moms are thin enough that if you don't put the horizontal gate in here, that they'll actually still be able to slide in and out between these vertical ones. So just something that you're going to want to keep in mind. You have to have a creep gate in place. You got to be able to keep your moms out. Otherwise, they're going to go in and they're going to overeat. Now, all of our animals are vaccinated for CDT, so we don't worry about necessarily about the Clostridium from them overeating, but we still don't want them to go in there and gorge themselves and get sick, get scours and things like that. Our ewes, on average throughout the year, give or take the time of year, are getting about 1 pound per head per day of 16% protein. And then, like I said, we like to keep our babies on at least 16% protein, all the way up to 20% protein throughout their growing season, which is going to be primarily from birth until weaning, and then we kind of go from there. Now, once we get to weaning, our moms are done with grain. They're going to go out to pasture and they're going to rotational graze all summer long. Usually you can figure here in northern Indiana, we are able to support them on pasture from about Memorial Day until Halloween. And once we get past Halloween, frost comes in and hits, and it's time for them to come back to dry lot. Our babies will stay here. As we've talked about before with weaning, you know, we want to keep our babies where they're used to being, and we want to move the moms. It's less stress on the babies. So the babies are going to stay here. Now, most of our babies are going to be right at market weight to where we can immediately take them to market as soon as weaning occurs at 6 weeks. If we have a few special snowflakes that we're going to keep behind, if we have a few 4-H animals that we're going to keep behind, some breeding rams that we're going to keep behind, or some replacement ewes that we're going to keep behind, they're going to get dry lotted up here for the entire first year. We do not put our replacement ewe lambs out with our mamas until they've successfully had their babies and gone out there, but that's a whole nother video. But again, I just want you to kind of look at our general setup here. Look, folks, you can set up this setup on your own farm, easy as can be. This is simply cattle panels and T-posts. I love using T-posts and zip ties and cattle panels because it's not permanent. I can come in here, I can pull this stuff out. If I don't like the way it looks, or if I want to rearrange, I can come in here and easily rearrange anytime that I want. And again, when you look at our creep feed, you're seeing what I'm using there. I'm using stainless steel hog feeders. That'll hold at least 300 pounds of feed very easily, and it just works out great for us. Also, I leave the free choice hay in there for these youngsters to get into. Now, it's not pure alfalfa hay. This is a nice grass mix hay, and I've got a nice warm place for them to go. There's no actual heat lamp or anything in there. That is just a tub that's been turned upside down with a hole cut in it and the bottom cut off of it, and they can go in there just to kind of snuggle up and get out of the weather. Even without a heat lamp in there, it's going to stay, with their body heat in there, it's going to stay about 10 degrees warmer than it is out here. So with that being said, let's head out over here and take a look at some of our moms and their babies that are on them. Again, you know, we've got all that feed up here, but these babies are out here with moms, kind of learning just how to be lambs. You know, they're relaxing, chilling out with mom, eating the hay and having a good old time. You know, I keep hearing from people, they said, well, you know, I was told that if you feed your animals grain that they're just gonna, it's all gonna go to their hooves and they're gonna get fat. Look, folks, the proof is in the pudding. I raise these animals, I know what I'm doing. I trim hooves twice a year. When we shear, we trim hooves. We shear in the spring, we shear in the fall, we shear the last week of April, and then we shear again when we're going into Halloween, just to knock the wool off of them. We sell the wool and we trim the hooves then. You know, these babies, this guy here is about a week and a half old. I mean, they just don't, he's eating free choice grain. He's not putting on much on his hooves. Some of these adults here that are older, these guys here haven't been shorn or haven't been clipped since last fall, and you can see that's where we're at with hoof. Okay, this is no BS. This is where we're at with hoof. This guy hasn't been trimmed since last fall, since last October. This is April, and look at those hoofs. And he's had grain every single day. So when you listen to these people telling you that, oh, if you feed them grain, it's all gonna go to their hooves and you're gonna have to walk around with hoof trimmers, I don't even know what the heck they're talking about. So we'll just leave it at that. So we wanna push our lambs. We wanna push our lambs as hard as we can because we want them to get as big as we can, period. Here's an example of a lamb that's getting ready to get weaned. She got weaned last week. So here's a 6-week-old lamb. She's probably pushing, I would say she's probably close to 50 pounds. Lindy, camera lady, what do you think? About 50 pounds? She's 50, 60 pounds, okay? She's 6 weeks old. We don't mess around here, okay? We do not overfeed our animals. You can look at the condition. All of these ewes have babies on them, and you can see where we're at. They are not fat, and frankly, some of them are a little deconditioned. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, you know, some of these moms put everything they have into their babies. They're getting 1 pound per head per day of 16% protein grain, and they're getting a decent grass alfalfa mix. Little bit of alfalfa, much more grass than alfalfa, and they're doing okay. You know, like I said, they're not super bulky, but they're not over fat, they're not overly thin. You can see we've got a ewe over here. You know, she's looking a little rough, maybe a little thin. She's got a couple babies on her. I got a couple ewes out of Montana that are here somewhere. Trying to see if yeah, look at this one. All right, this is real life, folks. You know, when I do these videos, I'm just showing you how it is. I'm not trying to paint you a picture or sell you anything. Look at her. I don't think she looks that good. She looks a little rough to me, right? She looks a little gaunt probably to you as well. Yeah, she's one of those moms. You know, everything that she makes goes into her milk. She's eating the same as all these other ones. And look at how much thinner she looks than those other girls. When I feel her ribs, she's under conditioned. She doesn't have a worm load on her. She's not diseased. She's not sick. It's just one of those moms that everything she takes in is going straight to those babies. And you'll see the same thing with your goats as well. We could go over to the goat side and you're going to see the same story over there with the goat side. But again, look at this. Look at this lamb. Lindy, how old is that lamb? Do you know? 4 weeks? Was he that late? He's February, March. No, he wasn't born then. Yeah. No, he wasn't even born then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Lindy, when did you go to Disney World?
February, beginning of February.
Yeah. So that lamb there is, he was born March.
Yeah.
So, and we're getting to the 3rd week of April. So you got a lamb there that is about 5 weeks old. So again, you know, it is what it is. We try to be honest with you folks. We try to tell you the way things are. And for those of you that live in some of these colder climates, you simply just cannot make this happen by just throwing them out on pasture. You know, I keep hearing people say that. They're like, I just throw them out on pasture, just throw them out on pasture, as if you can just toss them out on pasture and you're not going to have to worry about anything. And that is just not reality. And you know what? Try it. Go nuts. That's all I have to say. If you want to try it, buy yourself a bunch of ewes, and just throw them out. Just throw them out on pasture. See what happens. But the other thing that we try to do and we find that works interesting for us is we've got miniature cows. And you've probably seen these girls in the background, and we've never really talked about them before, but we do have a couple of miniature Herefords in here, and they're actually pregnant right now. They're gonna have some babies here in a couple months. We love having these mini cows with our sheep. The sheep kind of think they're other sheep, and the cows, I think, tend to think they're sheep too sometimes. They're small enough that you can handle them, but they're big enough that you can still eat them. And they are like portable furnaces. I will tell you, when it is cold outside, you will see these cows like with sheep piled up around them. The babies lay by them. And overall, we have no issues with them at all. We don't run any bulls in here, but the Herefords, the mini Herefords, these girls do a great job for us, and we're hoping they're going to have some good-looking babies for us here as well. We've got a late bloomer mama here. This is Millie. Millie is is a hunter Polled Dorset. As far as Polled Dorsets are concerned, it's probably one of the best darn all around sheep that you can get. Millie comes from Jeff Hunter's flock. If you're looking for a wool sheep that is, generally speaking, an all-around good sheep, I was just talking to a friend of ours from Kentucky this last week, and he said, man, if you had to pick a sheep, what's your favorite sheep? And man, that's a tough question, but I got to tell you, if you're new to the game and you just want to find an animal that is an overall easy keeper, generally healthy, easy lammer, and just does well overall, it's really hard to beat a Polled Dorset. And when you talk about traditional Polled Dorsets, everyone in the United States knows Jeff Hunter. He's the Polled Dorset guy as far as traditional Polled Dorsets go in the United States. Now, she's traditional Polled Dorset. You may have seen showed Dorsets out there, and they're gonna look a little bit different. She's a little frumpier. She's a little bit more traditional. And then you start getting longer and taller and longer ones that are more of the show stock. This is a Polled Dorset as well, but obviously you can see the difference between the body styles between the two. But anyways, yeah, Millie, she was one of our late pregnancies this year. She missed For some reason, Mother Nature just doesn't work the way we want sometimes, and she just wasn't ready to have babies for whatever reason, and so she is like 2 months behind everybody else having her babies, and we're just fine with that. She is one of those great moms. For those of you that are getting started with sheep and you want to know like what's that sweet spot with your ewes, it's right about her age. She is in that 7 to 10 year old window. She's had so many babies and nursed so many babies. She knows exactly what she's doing. Oh, I got one limping back there. She's had so many babies. She knows exactly what she's doing, and we don't worry about her at all. We know she's going to deliver. We know she's going to have her babies. We know she's going to have twins, and we just let her go. So, trying to think of what else I can tell you. You know, we like to use these feeders here. I make these myself. I like to use the metal here, the 4x4 squares, and with the tray down below. When I come out with my grain, I can just dump my grain in the tray down below, and it slows them down. It forces them to pull through these wires, and then when they pull through, the excess just falls down here into the tray. They work out really well. One of these days, I wanted to actually make a video about how to make those feeders, and to be quite honest with you, the darn price of lumber has gone up so high over the past few years with COVID that it's just not cost effective for me to build another feeder just for the heck of it. We do have our cradle feeders that we use here for our round bales. This works pretty good. We've got some waste that we get with this. Our friend Ryan Johnson, started using a net wrapping. It's kind of like a rope wrap that you can put on your round bales. It seems to slow them down quite a bit, and it seems like less waste. I think we're gonna start looking at that. But for the time being, we're gonna kind of leave this guy idle until maybe next year. This all here is, well, it's what you think it is. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, holy smokes, man, look at this, look at that pile. And you know, we clean up, we just cleaned up everything down to the dirt here. And this is all of our manure from the winter time. We've cleaned up during the winter, but this is some of our manure from the winter time that we've got piled up here. And this manure is going right out onto our pasture here. We're gonna put it out there, give it a few weeks for the sunlight to hit it and cook it and make sure that it kills everything. This is gonna go on the side of the pasture where we're going to bale off of. So, you know, we're not gonna be baling until come about the first week of June. So this is gonna have a good 2 months to sit on the pasture and kind of cook down and have everything get killed. Plus it's gonna run through the manure spreader, which is essentially gonna shred it and fling it into a very fine layer on top. But you know, for a 8-acre parcel of ground here in Northwest Indiana this year, again, due to everything that's going on in the economy, we're looking at $1,500 to fertilize. If I want to have a fertilizer truck come out and fertilize, $1,500. So this goes a long way. The sheep manure does not have as much nitrogen in it like chicken manure would, to where it's really hot, to where you gotta let it sit and rest before you spread it. This is already mostly decomposed. We like to use extremely deep bedding, and that allows it to kind of decompose as you go through the year. As you can see, you know, this already has broken down a significant bit, and it's not going to take much to run this through the manure spreader and get it out there and have it looking really, really good. Trying to think of what else I can tell you. Linda, you got anything else in mind that we need to tell the folks about while they're out here today? I guess probably one of the other changes that I've made that I would tell you about, and of course this is just one of our many dry lot areas. We've primarily got our white-faced sheep and our white-faced crosses out here. We've got our goats over there, but I do have some drainage. And for those of you that have drainage areas on your farm or any water collection points, this water right here comes off of my downspouts of my barn. We're in heavy blue clay, so a French drain really won't work in this location, but this water comes out here and it kind of collects. And I'll tell you what, this is just a disease area for my animals, and I do not want them drinking out of this water. And I'll tell you what, if you've ever been told that sheep or goats won't drink dirty water, hey, I'm here to tell you they sure will. I'll get animals that'll drink out of this nasty water rather than walk up to the clean water any day of the week just out of sheer laziness. And so I always advise people, you know, fence this off, make sure that your animals can't get in here and drink this gray water. We don't want them doing that. We don't want them picking up anything that's going to make them sick. So I'm in the ram pen. I just want to kind of touch bases with you guys about our rams. I've got 3 of our 4 rams in here right now. We've got 2 blackface. We've got our Poll Dorset ram over there. He is coming up on, he'll be a year here pretty soon. This guy here is just at a year, and he bred a lot of ours this last fall. This is Doobie, and that's Bucky over there, and Lunchbox is right here. But they all live in here together. They all kind of hang out and do their thing. They all get along. They're close enough that they can smell the girls, but they're not so close that they can actually get to them. So they can see the girls, they can smell the girls, but they're not so close that they can actually get to them. We don't come in here, we don't pet them, we don't handle them. But once a day we come in here to feed them. If they do get close enough, we may give them a rub underneath the chin, but other than that, we don't have much to do with them. They get 1 flake per head per day of a good quality grass and alfalfa blend, and they get about 1/2 pound of grain per head per day of a good 16% grain that's formulated specifically for males. But as you can see, there's no problems in here. You know, if you put your males together and they have enough room to run away from one another, they'll slowly kind of establish a pecking order and go from there to where you're not going to have a lot of issues with them being aggressive. Now, this guy here, to me, he looks kind of bad. And I got to tell you, he got listeria this year and was very, very sick. The fact that we were even able to save him from death is just amazing to me. So if you're looking at him and you're like, yeah, he doesn't look too good, but the other guys look really good, that's why. Is Lunchbox here, he had a hard time with it this winter, and like I said, he was basically on death's door before we brought him back. I like to utilize these calf hutches. I feel like they work really good. You can get about 3 full-size animals per calf hutch. And believe it or not, they will go in here and be just fine together. I know that may blow your mind, but it's enough to get them out of the wind and enough to get them out of the rain, to be honest with you. They're hardly ever in there. We got a baby goat screaming for its mom. Oh my goodness. But they will go in there and cohabitate and do absolutely just fine together. Like I said, I wouldn't push it more than about 3 in a calf hutch. But sometimes you can pick those up online for a fairly reasonable price. If you see them and you can get them at a deal, man, I get as many as you can possibly lay your hands on. They're lightweight, easy to move, they last forever. All you gotta do is throw a couple rocks on top of them, throw some dirt around the base of them, and they'll be fine. So let's head out to the pasture and see what's going on out there. Hello, buddy. So this guy here is not yet weaned. He is, what do you got? He is not yet weaned. He is about 5 weeks old. He's gonna get weaned next week. Holy smokes, you're heavy. I'm gonna put you down. What do you think? He's like, okay, there. So with that being said, I think we're gonna wrap it up for today. I'm gonna try to start doing weekly posts during the week. Where I want to talk to you guys about just general odds and ends things. We're getting enough people that are following us now, and we get so many phone calls during the week of people asking questions that I think the best thing for me to do is just to do a bi-weekly. Like I'm thinking right now I'm thinking every other Wednesday evening. I'm just gonna hop on Facebook or YouTube, on YouTube, and do YouTube Live, and just sit on there and hang out and answer any questions that you guys have for a couple hours. I think that'd be the best way to go about things. If you have questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and send us an email. If not, I personally think the best way for you to get in touch with us and get feedback is through our Facebook group. That is Linessa Farms Tack Box. It's our little forum online. If you haven't been on Linessa Farms Tack Box, make sure you check it out. If you appreciate the content that we put out and the amount of time that we put out for these things, you know, folks, I'm just like you. I work a full-time job, at least 40 hours a week. Between working at the hospital and I'm also in the military as well. If you enjoy the content that we put out, make sure that you hop on Patreon, throw us a couple bucks a month. We greatly appreciate it, and it helps us to make sure that we're giving you the best content we can and the best equipment that we can as well to put out the best quality videos. With that being said, I am Tim from Linessa Farms Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. I look forward to seeing you again next time, and we have lots of exciting stuff coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. Have a great day and have a happy Easter.